podcast, The Making of Waltzing Matilda. Hello, my name is Waynne. I'm producing my first ever podcast. I've been in Australia since 2009 and I don't go anywhere else. Australia is the best country in the world. My native language is Cantonese, a dialect in Chinese spoken language. My podcast will be broadcasted in English and Cantonese to challenge the state of mind of the Cantonese speaking population. Today I'll talk about the making of an unofficial Australian anthem and the history that makes contemporary Australia. Bear with me. Once a jolly swagman came by a billabong under the shade of a Coolibah tree. And he sang as he watched and waited to his billy boy, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he watched and waited to his billy boy, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Down came a jumbo to drink at the billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he shoved that jump up in his tucker bag, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." Excuse me, let me just tidy up my notes. "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he shoved that jump out in his tucker bag, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Up rode a squatter, mounted on his thoroughbred. Down came the troopers, 1, 2, 3. "Who's that jolly jumbuck you've got in your tucker bag? You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who's that jolly jumbuck you've got in your tucker bag? You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Up jumped the swagman, sprang in the billabong. "You never catch me alive," said he. And his ghost may be heard as you pass by the billabong. "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." And his ghost may be heard as you pass by the billabong. "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." So here I would love to give the background of Waltzing Matilda. Waltzing Matilda is a song developed in the Australian style of poetry and folk music called a bush ballad. It is Australia's unofficial national anthem. The meaning of the title is an Australian slang for travelling on foot. Waltzing is walking with one's belonging in a Matilda here, which means swag slung over one's back. Okay, Waltzing Matilda narrates the story of a swagman, which means a worker, boiling a billy. A billy is a lightweight cooking pot in the form of a metal bucket at a bush camp and capturing a stray jumbuck sheep to eat. When the jumbuck again, a sheep, the owner of the sheep, a squatter, so is a landlord in Australia, which I'll explain much detail later. And 3 mounted policemen pursued the swagman for theft. He declares, "You'll never catch me alive," and commits suicide by drowning himself in a nearby billabong, which means a water hole, after which his ghost haunts the site. The birth of Waltzing Matilda was in 1895. The original lyrics were composed in 1895 by the Australian poet Benjamin Patterson to a tune played by Christina Macpherson. The first published setting of Waltzing Matilda was Harry Nathan's on 20th December in 1902, Nathan wrote a new variation of Christina McPherson's melody and changed some of the words. In 1895, Australian writer Benjamin Patterson was living in Sydney, making his living as a solicitor. He also writes poetry and worked as a freelance journalist. At some point in early August 1895, Banjo took a holiday in Winton, which was in central western Queensland, to see how people live on the enormous remote ship station in the district. On arriving in Winton, Banjo attended a gathering where Christina McPherson played some music. One tune caught Banjo's attention, and Banjo wrote the first verse. The rest of the song was written over a period of 3 or 4 weeks in August and early September at a number of locations. The lyrics of Waltzing Matilda drew inspiration from the Great Shearer Strike in Queensland. In 1891, the Great Shearer Strike brought the colony close to civil war and was broken only after the Premier of Queensland, Samuel Griffith, called the military. In July and August 1894, as the shearing season approached, the strike broke out again in protest at the wage and contract agreement proposed by the squatters. During July and August 1894, 7 shearing sheds in central Queensland was burnt by striking union shearers before shearing could begin with non-union labour. Early on the morning of 2nd September 1894, a group of striking union shearers, firing rifles and pistols, set fire to the shearing shed. The fire killed over 100 sheep. In the early afternoon of 2nd September 1894, Senior Constable Austin Cafferty, Cafferty, I'm not so sure about the pronunciation, was informed that a man had shot himself at a striking shearers' camp. The body belonged to Samuel Hofmeister, was a known leader of the striking unionists and suspected of being involved in an arson attack. Here, I would like to say, since I'm from a Chinese background, I can talk briefly about the mentality of the Chinese population. So as a Chinese myself, I don't have an understanding of English literature, so I'll take time to explain the literature style of Waltzing Matilda. Waltzing Matilda is a bush ballad. The bush ballad, also called bush song, bush poem, is a style of poetry and folk music that depicts the life, character, and scenery of the Australian bush. The typical bush ballad. I think it should be pronounced as ballad instead. I made the mistake. Ballad employs a straightforward rhyme structure to narrate a story, often of action and adventure, and uses language that is colourful, colloquial, and idiomatically Australia. Through bush poetry, publications like the Bulletin sought to define and promote mateship, egalitarianism, and anti-authoritarianism, and a concern for the battler as a quintessential Australian values. So, Chinese are very different from white people because we don't really talk about egalitarianism and anti-authoritarianism to a lesser extent. We might talk a bit of mateship, but may not be strong as that as in the Australian context. So the values of mateship, egalitarianism, and anti-authoritarianism are daggers to Chinese traditional values. Mateship in Australia is an Australian cultural idiom that embodies equality, loyalty, and friendship. Mateship derives from mate, meaning friend, commonly used in Australia as an amicable form of address. Egalitarianism is a school of thought which within political philosophy that builds on the concept of social equality, prioritizing it for all people. Egalitarianism doctrines are generally characterized by the idea that all humans are equal in fundamental worth or moral status. As such, all people should be accorded equal rights and treatment under the law. Anti-authoritarianism is opposition to authoritarianism. Anti-authoritarians usually believe in full equality before the law and strong civil liberties. The term is sometimes used interchangeably with anarchism. I'm not sure. Sorry, I didn't check up before I read it out. So anarchy, ANARCHY, anarchism. I bet is said anarchism, ANARCHISM, an ideology which entails opposing authority or hierarchical organization in the conduct of human relations, including the state system. The Chinese Communist Party never has a concern for those that exist at the bottom of the society. So, battlers in Australian colloquialism are ordinary working class people who persevere through their commitment despite adversity. Typically, this adversity comprises low pay, family problems, environmental hardships, and personal recognition woes. Battler, woes, WOES. I have to check on this later. If I don't read this word, I'll never come across this word. Battler is a term of respect and endearment intended to empower and recognize those who feel as though they exist at the bottom of society. It has seen in 21st century used in mainstream politics in Australia to describe a demographic of Australian people, most notably by former Prime Minister John Howard, who used it to describe his working class voting base. Now we go back to the song to explain some of the slangs used in Australia. Ernie. Once a jolly swagman can buy a billabong. Once a jolly swagman can buy a billabong under the shade of a Coolibah tree. And he sang as he watched and waited his billy boys. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Swagman, carried by a swagman, is a portable sleeping unit. It is normally a bundle of belongings rolled in a traditional fashion to be carried by a foot traveller in the bush. Before motor transport was common, foot travel over long distances was essential to agriculture in the Australian bush. In the early 1800s, the term swags was used by British thieves to describe any amount of stolen goods. One definition given in Francis Grose, Grose, his 1811 Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue is any bounty, any booty. But I thought bounty is another word. Any booty you have lately obtained to carry the swag is to be the bearer of the stolen goods to a place of safety. By the 1830s, the term in Australia had transfer from meaning goods acquired by a thief to the possessions and daily necessaries carried by a bushman. A swagman was a transient laborer who traveled by foot from farm to farm carrying his belongings in a swag. Swagmen are particularly common in Australia during times of economic uncertainty, such as the 1890s and the Great Depression of the 1930s. Many unemployed men travel in the rural areas of Australia on foot. Their few possessions rolled up and carried in their swag. The swag was frequently referred to as Matilda. It's called Matilda. Hence, Waltzing Matilda means walking with a swag. Waltzing was derived from the German term auf der Walz, which means to travel while working as a craftsman and learn new techniques from other masters. I originally thought Matilda was a girl's name since I have watched the Australian footy and played by the women, and they are calling themselves Matilda. Go Matilda! Yeah, however, according to the National Library of Australia, Matilda is a Teutonic. Teutonic, I have checked online, means from a German origin, Teutonic, a female name meaning mighty battle maid. This may have informed the use of Matilda as a slang term to mean a de facto wife who accompanied a wanderer in the Australian bush. A man's swag was regarded as a sleeping partner, hence his Matilda. So, in the German origin, when a man traveled far, there would be a girl who would accompany him. When it got to Australia, it became a swagman's sleeping partner. The sleeping partner was his swag. Yeah, funny. A billy can is an Australian term for a lightweight cooking pot in the form of a metal bucket, commonly used for boiling water, making tea, making coffee, cooking over a campfire, or to carry water. In Australia, the billy has come to symbolize the spirit of exploration of the outback and is a widespread symbol of bush life, although now regarded mostly as a symbol of an age that has long passed. Now, we move to the second verse. Down came a jumper to drink at the billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he shoved that jump out in his tucker bag. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Jump back is an Australian term of the Aboriginals in Australia. So this name has an Aboriginal origin for a male sheep. Yeah, that sheep is a boy. And is featured in Banjo Patterson's poem Waltzing Matilda. Billabong is Australian English. Billabong is a small body of water, usually a permanent one created by a change in course or the flooding of water. It is variously used to refer to oxbow lakes, dry creek beds that fill after heavy rainfall, and channels of river that lead to dead ends or backwater. Okay, so just look at my finger here. So is how the river goes. It's called meandering. It's a form that looks like omega. Omega, you can find it on the watch brand Omega. Yeah. So When the rain season comes, the river will be filled with extra water, and that extra water will run through the narrow necks of the narrower bottom of the omega sign. Then it will form a straight river, and another part of river will become like an ox bow. Just look at the bottom of the feet of an ox. It will look like this. A U shape, a inverted U shape. Yep, so my definition is not wrong at all, because according to Wikipedia, an oxbow lake is an U-shaped lake or pool that forms when a wider meander of a river is cut off, creating a freestanding body of water. So now we come to the third verse. Up rode a squatter mounted on his thoroughbred. Down came the troopers, 1, 2, 3. Who's that jolly jumbuck you've got in your tucker bag? You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Squatter in colonial Australia. No one knows what squatter mean. Okay, so squatter happened particularly in the early to mid-19th century. Squatting was the occupation of large tracts of crown land. The land belonged to the British, and the land that belongs to the British are crown land, typically to graze livestock without formal legal title. Although squatters initially have no recognized right to the land they occupied, colonial authorities gradually legitimized their claims through licensing systems and later land laws, often favoring those who are the first and sometimes only European settlers in the region. Over time, squatters, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, come to control most of the arable lands in their colonies, amassing vast wealth and exerting considerable influence in colonial legislatures. Waltzing Matilda drew inspiration from the 1891 ship shearers' strike. The 1891 ship shearers' strike is one of Australia's earliest and most important industrial disputes. This dispute was primarily between unionized and non-unionized wool workers. When I was in Hong Kong, the teacher said WOOL as wool, but after I came to Australia, the people quite wool, stressing the dark L at the back. Yeah, any L at the back is a dark L, wool workers. Is resulted in the formation of large camps of striking workers and minor instances of sabotage and violence on both sides. The strike was poorly timed, and when the union workers ran out of food, they were forced to come into terms. The outcome is to credit as one of the factors for the formation of Australian Labor Party and the rise to power of a pro-Labor Party faction in the Australian Socialist League. Many union shearers were outraged when a shearing station manager in Queensland asked the shearers to sign a contract that would reduce the power of their union. On 5th January 1891, the shearers announced a strike until the following demands for a contract were met. Continuation of existing rates of pay, protection of workers' rights and privileges, just and equitable agreements, exclusion of low-cost Chinese labor, which manifested later as Labour Party policy, the Immigration Restriction Act, also known as the White Australia policy, although anti-Chinese demands were opposed by the Australian Socialist League, which was heavily involved with the strike. So we travel from the 1890s to the period between 1930s to nowadays. The Australian Labor Party, ALP, is the major social democratic political party in Australia, sitting on the centre-left of the political spectrum. It is the oldest active party in the country, have been founded in 1891, the year of the Australia Shearers' Strike. It is one of the two major parties in Australian politics, its main rival being the Liberal National Coalition. It has been the ruling party at the federal level since the 2022 federal election and currently forms government in 5 of the 8 states and territories. The White Australia policy was a set of racial policies that aim to forbid people of non-European ethnic origins, Asians, primarily Chinese and Pacific Islanders, from immigrating to Australia in order to create a white British ideal focused on Anglo-Celtic peoples, but not exclusively. Competition in the goldfields between Europeans and Chinese miners and labor union opposition to the importation of Pacific Islanders into the sugar plantations of Queensland reinforced demands to eliminate or minimize low-wage immigration from Asia and the Pacific Islands. An opinion related to White Australia appeared in writing about the preoccupation about the Australian population in early federal Australia before World War II in a document titled In Answer to Amiens, a French word, A-M-I-N-S. Okay. The Amiens in Anzac refers to a city in northern France that is the site of a major battle in World War I. The phrase symbolized the journey of the Australian forces from the first campaign in Gallipoli to the turning point of the war at Amiens. Amiens, French. Try speaking French. Amiens. I don't know. No S in the last word, and if there is said as like Paris, but he. The Gallipoli Peninsula is located in the European part of Turkey. I never knew that Gallipoli is in Turkey. I wouldn't know if I don't look up online. In the writing of In Answer to Amiens, the official historical academic of the war, historian of the war, Charles Bean considered the White Australia policy and defined it as follows. White Australia policy. I don't check the pronunciation of this word again. The vehement. So if I come across with this word again, I'll check the pronunciation. VEHEMENT, efforts to maintain a high Western standard of economy, society, and culture, necessitating at that stage. However, it might be camouflaged, the rigid exclusion of Oriental people. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please refer to the notes. Yes, sticking in the comment section, you'll find if you expand the description of my video. This is the make of Australia. Let us all rejoice. Once a jolly swagman came by a billabong under the shade of a Coolibah tree. And he sang as he watched and waited his billy boy, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he watched and waited his billy boy, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Down came a jumper, twitching at the billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he strove that jump back in his tucker bag, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he strove that jump back in his tucker bag, "You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Up rode the squatter, mounted on his thoroughbred. Down came the troopers, 1, 2, 3. "Who's that jolly jumper you've got in your tucker bag? You come and waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who's that jolly jumper you've got in your tucker bag? You come a waltzing Matilda with me." Up jumped the swagman, sprang in the billabong. "You'll never catch me alive," said he. And his ghost may be heard as you pass by the billabong. "You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me." And his ghost may be heard as you pass by the billabong. "You come a waltzing Matilda with me."